The left has always wanted to cancel Lord of the Rings. It is just too beautiful of a story. It's got too much truth to it. It's got a Christian message. It's got right-wing nationalist world building to it. And it's something that's just absolutely triggered them in recent years. I've written an article today about Rachel Maddow's crazy comments on Lord of the Rings, comparing it to Nazism just to try to get at JD Vance. Very, very weird. But this is what they do. They're completely unhinged. They just make stuff up, and they're insane. And that's why we have to fight them with everything we have in culture. And we have to defend our culture like Lord of the Rings, like Chronicles of Narnia, because if we don't, they're going to corrupt it, change it, erase it, and then try to replace it with their crap, like Rings of Power, for example, to try to remove truth and beauty from everything that's out there. And that is why we're here and what we're fighting against. If you're here with us, my friends, please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us as we build our fight against these people. And we're doing the same thing ourselves. We're making our own stories and our own greatness. This is my Chronicles of the Terran Imperium. I built a great sci-fi world, and this is a book in this called The Hidden Emperor, and it's about a secret agent who has to uncover a plot to replace the Emperor with a clone and then destroy the Terran Imperium and humanity. So this is a wonderful thing. It, again, speaks to truth, speaks to beauty. You'll really enjoy this if you like good fiction and good science fiction. Please grab this. It's in the description below and support our channel. I really appreciate you guys for being there. All right, so MSNBC's Rachel Maddow blasts Lord of the Rings as Aryan, yes, because JD Vance listed J.R.R. Tolkien as his favorite author. Like I said, this is indicative of a greater situation with these people where they hate Lord of the Rings because of how good it is. It really is true. And because smart people like JD Vance like it, that makes it even something more to hate for them. This isn't new. This has been going on for a long time as they've gone off on Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has deep Christian and right-wing themes, which is why attempts to cancel and change the work have been so prevalent in recent years. The entire series is about self-sacrifice and abandoning power, with Frodo being a clear allegory for the sacrifice Jesus Christ made for us to wash away our sins and grant us eternal life. Leftists have found this unbridled truth in storytelling to be a threat. They want to corrupt souls away from such an elegant message that there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for friends, which is John 15:13. The first flurry of attacks against Lord of the Ring came in 2018 when the mainstream media attempted to attack the fantasy series for perpetuating racism. Yes, this was a big thing back then, if you guys do remember this. I know it's a long time ago on the internet. Because of it's like the second age. We're at the third age now. Because of the series' depiction of orcs as aggressive, thoughtless, and evil. So it came out on a podcast. This woke science fiction writer decided to go off on orcs, and here's the National Review writing that up as it just made the mainstream media back in the day. And this became like a big discussion and spurred a bunch of memes and the like back in the day. But it all started here. Andrew Duncan said, "It's hard to miss the repeated notion in Tolkien that some races are just worse than others, or that some peoples are just worse than others. And this seems to me, in the long term, if you embrace this too much, it has dire consequences for yourself and society." So they were already starting that theme of Tolkien as racist way back then. And they were trying to cancel the work based on that. This made its way into science fiction circles and the like. The Science Fiction Writers of America, which used to be a organization of professional writers, now it's just a bunch of weird cat ladies who actually don't even write science fiction anymore. They did a panel a couple years ago going off on Tolkien and saying, what do you do about problematic fiction? And they called it problematic repeatedly. That's a buzzword they like to use to try to go at things like this. It was insulting. And these hack writers going at Tolkien like they know better was about the most dumb thing I've ever seen in the history of dumb things, until Rachel Maddow spoke today, because this gets even crazier. The media ran with the narrative, kept comparing orcs to black people. That's exactly what they did to cancel the long-dead J.R.R. Tolkien. It's absurd and was mocked by most sensible people, resulting in some of the funniest memes ever produced on the internet. I found this one, if you remember the great orc posting of memes back then. This was a lot of fun. The new face of Gondor. How Orcish immigrants are shaping Middle-earth's first multicultural society. Very funny stuff. And there were so many of these memes that spurred out of this, and it drove the left crazy at the time because it's just, it mocks how absurd their policies are and how absurd their thoughts are in what they ascribe to orcs too. But it made its way into pop culture all the way around. Dungeons and Dragons, of course, we mocked this on the channel earlier this year. They've got a new supplement about orcs as a playable race now. Where look, they're just fun Mexican families who are orcs. It gets even weirder. Like these people are so obsessed with race, you could see their inherent crazy biases and racism in everything they do for real. Most normal people just don't think about this stuff, and you wouldn't sit here and go, I'm going to draw orcs as Mexican people, because why would you do that? It's very, very, very absurd. Roundly mocked across the internet, but this is what Dungeons and Dragons is doing as a response to what was said about Tolkien. It really has permeated left-wing corporate culture like this. And of course, nothing is more famous for trying to twist J.R.R. Tolkien's vision than Amazon Prime's videos Rings of Power. In this series, the profound lore of Tolkien's Middle-earth history is intentionally disregarded to make Lord of the Rings into a worldly vision. Their attempts to remove truth and beauty from the story gutted the show and left Middle-earth all but an empty shell of the glory of Tolkien's original work. Absolutely destroyed. So what happened was JD Vance gave an interview a while back, and it was found online and reported on. I think it was Politico that reported on it. And it came from this Grounded podcast. Somebody asked him who his favorite author was. And he said, I would have to say Tolkien. Not a bad choice. He says, I'm a big Lord of the Rings guy, and I think, not realizing it at the time, but a lot of my conservative worldviews was influenced by Tolkien growing up. And you could see that, yes, obviously a conservative Christian worldview is something that's very prevalent in Tolkien's work. Tolkien, of course, was a devout Catholic, and it shows all the way across it. Once you start to see it, you'll never stop seeing it, and there's so much depth there because he worked so hard on it. It's beautiful. He also spoke regarding C.S. Lewis, another stalwart Christian philosopher in fiction, saying, big fan of C.S. Lewis, really sort of like the era of English writers. I think they were interesting. They were grappling in part because of World War II with just very big problems. Yeah, there was more World War I than World War II in these guys' works, but yes, World War II was a part of it as well. They saw both of them. These guys were there for both, and it was, that left a lot of people shell-shocked. It really did, and it did create great fiction from great travesty, because that does happen a lot of the time. But you see, JD Vance is really into these Christian, very conservative authors. And that really triggers the left. So it just got everybody riled up on Twitter again saying the conservative worldview is influenced by Tolkien. Just creates a lot of cognitive dissonance and pisses off all the right people, of course, and it gets them going crazy. So Vance actually named his investment firm called Narya, which is a reference to Lord of the Rings and the Ring of Fire, which is entrusted to Gandalf to help purge the world of corruption. So he, thought about his investment firm, and he wanted to name it after that to remind himself purging the world of corruption is actually the goal here. It's pretty good. Using Tolkien's work as a reference and inspiration for his life upset the left, who's renewed their outrage baiting about Lord of the Rings. And so here's Rachel Maddow as she's talking about this. See her little hateful line anyway. Lord of the Rings is sort of a favorite cosmos for naming things and cultural references for a lot of far-right figures and alt-right figures, both in Europe and the United States. Wow. So shots fired at Lord of the Rings right there. Lord of the Rings is now alt-right. This is a wild claim. This is how unhinged these people are and how crazy these people are. They want to destroy everything that's good. They want to cancel everything that's beautiful. This is exactly why we have to fight so hard in culture, my friends, because it's insane. She continued, Mr. Vance also, when he founded his own venture capital firm with help from Peter Thiel, and this is the most unhinged thing I've ever heard, maybe ever, named a Lord of the Rings thing. He called it Narya, which you can remember because it's Aryan, but with the N to the front. Look at this. This is so wild. She's trying to tell her audience that he named his venture capital after the Ring of Fire that Gandalf had. Why? Because it's close spelling to Aryan. And so it's something that has to do with Nazism, and everybody's a Nazi who likes Lord of the Rings. This is the biggest reach and the biggest stretch and the biggest crazy twist of words I've ever seen. This person is absolutely evil, absolutely unhinged, and you could see how they're just attempting to cancel Lord of the Rings once again. And this is an interesting timing because Rings of Power Season 2 is about to come out, and we know it's going to get even worse in terms of their just bastardization of Tolkien's work and the changes that they're going to make to the lore in order to just try to rewrite everything in this like modernistic crap image, which is bland, boring, it's terrible, and it's bad storytelling. This is all intentional, trying to destroy J.R.R. Tolkien, trying to destroy Lord of the Rings as all this is happening is a part of destroying our culture. It's a part of destroying our civilization, because if we don't have good stories, we don't have good mores, we can't have a civilization, and that's the entire point about this. Now, comparing it to Nazism is ridiculous because, of course, Tolkien was quite the opponent of the German Nationalist Socialist Party. That should be obvious. As a Brit, he would be. And he's got to be spinning in his grave hearing this. I mean, this is just disgusting. And Rachel Maddow should be absolutely ashamed of herself for doing this. But it's going to continue. Lord of the Rings is just too powerful a story for these people to want to keep and maintain a success. And so there's going to be pushback. It's going to get worse. And we're just going to have to be here to preserve great fiction like this in the future. All right, we've got our own great fiction. Please back the Hidden Emperor. Read some great content today that we're creating. I really appreciate you guys for all the support you've given us so far. Amazing, amazing start to this campaign. The link's in the description below. And please hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Lord of the Rings and Rachel Maddow Unhinged here. We'll be back soon.